Welcome back, VA users. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the vendor returns. So how we can do the vendor return and how you can generate the vendor return documents into the VA system. We are going to showcase step by step everything that required to accomplish the vendor return process. Now into the vendor return process, there are majorly three steps. That is the vendor RMA, return to vendor document, and then later on the debit note or the AP credit memo. So these are the three documents that you need to prepare into the VA system in case of the vendor return. Now the important part is if you want to return something to the vendor, so naturally there would be a certain purchase, you have received the item, and there would be an invoice at the background, right? So it is not always mandatory to have the invoice, but it is always mandatory there should be a certain purchase order at the background and a certain GRN document. Since while generating the vendor RMA document, you need to link the original purchase order and the original GRN document. Now, how all these stuff we can do into the VA system? Let's move on into the VA system and we'll execute each and every step one by one. That helps you to understand how to initiate and then finish the vendor return process. So presently I'm at my login screen. I'm going to log in with IdeaSync admin and I have all the access rights. But when it is when this process to be executed by the users, there are three different departments used to be involved. One is the procurement department, whose responsibility is to enter the vendor RMA record. Thereafter, the warehouse department, whose responsibility is to load the material that is not required and needs to be returned to a certain vendor. And then the last is to raise the debit memo record or debit note record by the finance department. So there are three departments always involved in case of customer or vendor return process. So in case of customer return process, naturally a sales department responsibility is to enter the customer RMA, and then the warehouse department is to uh, receive the material, the return material from the customer, and the finance department has to enter the credit memo. Now we are discussing and focusing in this particular video about the vendor return process. So how we can initiate. So let me log in into the VA system, and thereafter we'll see how we can do this. Okay. So once you have logged in, you just need to search for the vendor RMA document, and here is the vendor RMA document. Click onto the new record, select the RMA category. Okay. Then you just need to select the document type vendor RMA, and here as I have mentioned that you need to select the original purchase order number. So my original purchase order number is, let's say, this, and my receipt number is this. Okay, so once it is entered, so here the return policy, naturally the vendor might have the return policy that to be linked here, and from which warehouse I just need to send the material, I just need to select that. So once it is selected, thereafter we just need to save the record, move on to the RMA line, and at the level of the RMA line we just need to select which material I want to return. So let's say I just need to return the LC entire value or maybe some quantities. Then I need to say, okay, let's say the 10 quantities I have received are not up to the mark and I just want to return to my vendor. So I would enter this. Similarly, if the another material you want to return, then you just need to select here the SC connectors and this, and thereafter I would say the two quantities wasn't up to the mark and it fails under when we tested the quality or maybe some other aspect of it, we just need to enter it. And once it is done, thereafter we just need to process this record. So we just need to process using the complete button. Now in this way our vendor RMA documents generated. If your commitment accounting is enabled, then you would be able to post the record here using the not posted button. So I do not have the commitment accounting enabled, so I'm not going to post this record. As a result, you just need to generate the return to vendor document or vendor return document. So here is the return to vendor. Now click onto the new record here, and thereafter you need to select your document type, and then select your vendor. So I'm not remembering my vendor, so let me select, it is the input sales. So normally the users who are working, they always aware about Wix, since they have the print formats and the other reports. So they are always aware about. Just to showcase you, I'm just entering and then looking into there at the level of the vendor RMA. Okay, but normally it doesn't happen. There are many of the reports are available of vendor RMA, which are all the open vendor RMA and what are all the material to be returned. So the reports are available, and thereafter we need to select from which warehouse we are returning this back. And once it is done, we'll say save record, then we'll say create lines from, and here we need to select our vendor RMA document. So I have a single document, I would select here, and from which locator I want to deliver is the default locator, and I would select this and say OK. Once it is done, thereafter we just need to process this record. Once the record is processed, you would be able to do the posting in case. So at the moment, no rule is defined. So if I want to confirm whether the rule is there or not, then I would be able to zoom to my doc type, and thereafter I would select here. Okay. Here is the posting doc type, that is a return to vendor. So my document is posted, and my inventory account is going to be reduced here. Okay, so my inventory account would reduce here. So at the moment the price is not coming due to some the setup is not up to the mark. Anyways, that is just to tell you like what happens, and you would be able to post this record, and at the end you would be able to generate the debit note using this button, or the finance department would open the AP invoice, and they would be able to process the debit note at this level. So we just need to say new record, and in this case it is going to be AP credit memo. Then if there is any reference, then we just need to enter some reference, and thereafter we need to say input sales. Once it is done, thereafter I just need to move on and say my payment method, and then the create lines from, and from the create lines from I would be able to select my vendor return document in this way, and I would select here and say OK. As a result of this, the system will link my invoices with my vendor RMA document and with my vendor RMA document, return to vendor and vendor RMA document. So once it is done, thereafter you would be able to process this record. So that is how you would be able to execute the entire vendor return process. And later on, as a result of this, again at the background, your match invoice and the match PO records gets generated by the system. So that again has the accounting consequences that would be processed by the V server later on. So that is how you would be able to create the entire vendor return process. And these are all the major steps that you need to execute here at the level of the AP invoice. If you have any kind of questions, then I would request you to enter comments. We'll try to give you the answers there. Otherwise, we'll generate a new video to give you the answers. If you have any other kind of questions, then you can reach me at the email address defined, so that we can clarify what basically will clarify. Or if you have any sales query, then do let us know. We'll try to contact that customer, and thereafter we can have the discussions. If you like our video, and if you really think that it is helpful for you to execute the entire vendor return process, then I would request you to Subscribe our channel and share this video with your colleagues. Till then, thanks a lot. Bye bye.